We help people in a time of their crisis. Think about this for just a second. Unless your clients are in crisis, in one fashion or another, a car accident, a divorce, a merger and acquisition that they do or don't want, whatever it may be, there is always a crisis element surrounding their issues. And what they really want is to come into your office and then just dump that stress onto you. And that's one reason why lawyers are so profoundly affected in this world of drugs and alcohol, because somehow we ourselves don't find an area of escape. Being a caring and loving profession, however, in today's world is not enough.
Ed Pohl is a nationally recognized lawyer, speaker, and author of 12 books.
My background is rather broad. I've done a number of things both in the law and outside the law. After graduating law school in 1965, I actually went into the government practice where I was a criminal prosecutor. From there, I went back into industry, an area that I had grown up in actually, in a family business, and had owned and operated several manufacturing companies. After those were sold, went back into the law as a sole practitioner, went from there to being a partner in a small firm, and then from there into the corporate general counsel.
To follow are scenes of Ed in action with audiences in Cleveland and Boston.
What are the three things that every lawyer running a practice, every business has? What's step number one? Get the clients. Okay, so you got to get the business. You got to get the customer. What's the next thing that has to get done? Yes, sir.
Service them.
What's another way of saying service them?
Do the work.
Thank you. Do the work. You must have been reading my book. You got to do the work. What's the final step? Thank you. Getting paid. Now, these are three different things. We always, every lawyer I've ever talked to, focuses on getting the work. You're trained by law school and by day in and day out lawyering to do the work. And then we fall down here. So the three-dimensional law practice that I envision is something like this. And this is the part where if you're in that area, you have a balanced law practice. You have a practice where you enjoy doing the work, you enjoy the client you're representing, you are getting paid for what you do, and when you get paid, your value is being recognized by the client. And so that's almost nirvana. That's probably why this area is so small relative to the others. But this is the area that we strive to achieve.
Of the approximately 1 million lawyers in America, 50% work in private practice, 50% work in government practice, and 70% of all firms have less than 10 lawyers on staff.
You have to establish the boundaries of the relationship with your client at the very get-go. You have to have a written engagement agreement, and that engagement agreement has to say certain things. One of the things it has to say, by rules of professional conduct, is what is it that you're going to do for the client? What did you do in the intake process to educate the client about a number of things? The problem, the work to be done to address the problem, and your value. See, most of us do not educate the client about what the value is that we bring to the table. And unless you show the client how valuable you are, two things are going to happen. One, they won't pay the bill, or they'll pay it begrudgingly. And two, well, maybe three things. They won't refer new clients to you because they don't understand your value. okay? And 3 is they think of you as a commodity, not as a partner. Do you know what the largest number of complaints are against lawyers to the State Bar? What's the single largest category of complaints against lawyers? Failure to return phone calls. The #1 complaint, and it's been that way for years. It's the single most effective, cheapest, something all of us today have, mechanism is the telephone. And so clients call us and we don't return the phone call. It's bizarre. The only ones who beat us in the failure to respond is doctors. 20% of your clients provide 80% of your problems. Okay? Find out who they are. Find out who the 20% is. And if it's a problem client, see what you can do to get rid of them. Now, there are lots of ways of getting rid of them without getting rid of them. What's one way? Yes?
Take on new work.
Huh? Not to take on new work, right, but that's an affirmative action on your part. What's a non-affirmative action? Well, it's sort of affirmative, but it's really turns out to be a subjective action on the part of your client. Sir, raise your rate. There's nothing that says that you have to charge Charlie the same fee you charge William. To Charlie, who's the problem client, raise your rate. At least, if they continue to pay it, you'll feel better about it. Okay?
I enjoyed practicing on all sides of the table, and then later on in my career I got the opportunity to be a trial lawyer for a mid-sized firm. And while there, because they knew my background, both in industry as well as the law, and coincidentally I had taught in the entrepreneurship department of both University of California at Los Angeles and the University of Southern California, they asked me to take over the firm. So I became the chief operating officer of that law firm, a mid-sized firm. Later, after some time being with them, I recognized that if this firm, which was a very good firm, had the kinds of problems that they had, that there were other firms all across the country that had similar problems. And at that time, in 1989, 1990, there really weren't very many folks who had either the knowledge or the interest to work with lawyers to help them on the business side of the practice of law.
In addition to writing 12 books, articles on the business of law authored by Ed Pohl have appeared in publications for the American Bar Association, the Association of Legal Administrators, the Canadian Bar Association, the State Bar of California, and Lawyers Weekly, among others.
Clients want attorneys who provide solutions to their problems. They want their problems repaired. And if we think this way, it alters the entire framework of our relationship with our clients. We then begin to think in ways that address the issues of the clients, not our own issues. Where are you on the spectrum of skills? And I don't think you have to be the most knowledgeable about the smallest detail. You can back off and be knowledgeable. If you're knowledgeable in real estate, for example, you know what the issues are. You know where you need to go to find the answers. And I think with the proper discussion with the client, you're entitled to tell the client that I can do that, and this is what I think the charges are going to be. Now, if you want to deal with somebody who does only that kind of work, that's fine. Go find that person, or I'll find that person for you. One, you should be doing the work, because only you are licensed by the state to do the work. And two, you should be marketing to do more legal work. Because only you know whether you're competent to handle that particular matter, and only you know whether you want to represent that particular client. And all, you know, a number of the large firms now have business development folks and sales folks and so forth, and I think they're making a mistake when they approach it in that way. There are other ways I think that are better than that. However, the point is that if I'm not doing the legal work because I'm not going to get paid by this client, then I ought to be doing the marketing. And if I'm not doing the marketing, I'm going to be on my bike. The real impact of keeping track of your time. Studies have been done by the ABA and by others that demonstrate if you do not keep accurate record of your time, you are losing at least 15% of your revenue. At least 15% of your revenue. Now, in this example here, at $100 an hour, only 1 hour a day, you're losing $26,000. And that's why I said earlier that I can guarantee increased revenue for my clients who come to me for coaching. Because just a few tweaks like this automatically increases their revenue. It's absolutely amazing. And if you're charging more than $100 an hour, think of what, at $200 an hour, that's a $52,000 number now, not $26,000.
Business principles are not on the law school curriculum. Lawyers who don't know the business of law are forced to attend the School of Hard Knocks. Paying the price are the lawyer, their client, and their bottom line.
First of all, more than 50% of the lawyers, according to statistics from California to New York, show that lawyers earn $100,000 or less. Now, after all the years of school and all the effort that they put into becoming a good lawyer, earning $100,000 or less by half of the profession is not a lot of money.
Almost every lawyer I know has a complaint about accounts receivable. And unlike good wine, accounts receivable don't get better with age. Now, you know, we're licensed to practice law. We're not licensed as bankers. And yet we seem to be in the banking business. According to statistics, the average age of accounts receivable, and that's in a good practice, is about 5 months. Think about it. It takes you 30 days to do the work. If you get your bill out on time, which most of us don't, it's another 30 days before the client gets the bill, looks at the bill, says it's okay to pay. The best, we're talking about 90 days. And if we don't get the check to them before their cutoff date, if we're working with a business client, they have cutoff dates, it's at least another 30 days, so now we're talking about 120 days.
The marginal lawyer, that is economically marginal, has the tendency, according to State Bar disciplinary proceeding records, to invade the client trust account. They're not bad people, but they need to borrow money for just a few days to pay the rent or pay the payroll or what have you, until that check that they know is coming in actually arrives.
You have told your client that they're to pay you every 30 days from the date of your billing. Now, let me ask you, if you agreed to provide them with a document on, let's say, December 13th, and you didn't do that, what do you think would happen? On December 14th, you'd get a phone call, right? So why is it that they can expect of us that we have to perform what we agree on, but they don't have to perform what they agreed to do? Why is that the case?
I think it's easier. There are a lot more attorneys. They can go and find another attorney a lot easier than we can go out and find another client to replace them.
Okay. So what you're expressing is the common gut fear that we're not going to find another client. Okay. Yeah, and we all walk around with that gut feeling that this is the last client on the earth. You know, if we don't do the work for them, then we're not going to. Now, if you do the work for them and they don't pay you, what happens?
As far as,
Well, I mean, can you pay the mortgage? Can you go and buy food in the grocery?
no,
Okay. So why, why is it that we do this? And it's not just you. I mean, every one of my clients is in the same position. Why do we do that?
Lawyers, and I'm guilty of this as well because I've practiced law for 25 years, are control freaks. We do not want to let go. We want to control our own environment. This is, after all, our business. Most lawyers do not see the direct connection between billing for the work that they do and collecting the fee that they've charged and their own well-being. They just don't see that connect. It's almost a straight line as far as I can tell, but they don't see it. And the larger the law firm, the less they see it, and they see it less because there's no direct impact in their pocketbook. The firm becomes large enough that that loss is absorbed by many people, and the direct impact, the immediate impact, is minimal to them.
When I ran my business, come the 5th of the month, we shut everything off. If we didn't have a statement or an invoice in our mail by that date, that vendor did not get paid that month. Because we have to shut off our accounting system to develop our financial statements to know where we are. So understand what the cutoff date is for your business clients. Now, how will you know that? How will you know that? Ask. Real simple. Thank you. It's real simple. Just ask them. They will tell you. In fact, I'll tell you something else they'll tell you. Something you might want to think about. If you ask them for a copy of their business plan, more often than not, they will give it to you if you are a trusted advisor of them, of theirs. Because you ought to know where they're going, what they seek to accomplish. If you do that, then you will be in a position to better understand how what you do can help them. You will also be in a better position to figure out how you might grow your practice to meet their expected growth, whether by virtue of number of lawyers in your firm or by practice area or something else. Because one of your goals in terms of the revenue can be and ought to be, in my opinion, is to increase your market share within your existing clientele. How about the fact that we're the only ones guaranteed a living in this country, a livelihood? The U.S. Constitution says that every individual is guaranteed the right to counsel. It doesn't say we're guaranteed the right to medicine, to a doctor. It doesn't say we're guaranteed the right to a plumber. We are guaranteed, however, the right to counsel. And that sets us apart. In addition to everything else that we've said, that sets us apart from every other activity, commercial activity. And if you think about it that way, then you understand some of the anger that is directed against us when we don't perform in accordance with the expectations of some people, particularly those people who have no clue what lawyers actually do, particularly those people who think that we are here to do justice as contrasted to practice law. Somehow we are imbued with this standard that we are here to uphold justice, when in fact the judicial system is not constructed for that.
In 1989, when I realized that the law firm that I was running had a Cadillac at a Chevy price and didn't really appreciate the value of what they had, I decided that I would go out on my own and start my own consultancy. And so in January of 1990, I started coaching and consulting with lawyers, starting first in Los Angeles and then grew quickly to a national base. When I started, I thought that I would allow myself 5 years in order to grow my practice. My experience in business and in teaching entrepreneurs how to run successfully, how to start and run successfully their businesses, showed me that it took about 5 years to become established. If you could succeed for 5 years, that is, make enough money to pay the bills and pay yourself a reasonable living wage, that you would succeed long term. Yes, you'd have ups and downs, but you would succeed. You'd implant your feet in the ground and you'd be a recognized factor in the marketplace. And so I allowed myself 5 years. It took me about 3.5 years to recognize that I'd succeeded. I just kept going. So that's how I started in lawbiz.com. And of course, lawbiz.com is the domain name of our website. Lawbiz Management is the name of our company. When I do our coaching, it tends to be telephonic, so the lawyer can be anywhere in the country, or anywhere in the world for that matter. I've coached folks in Australia and Canada and London, all over the world. So it really doesn't matter where they are when we're dealing with the telephone in a coaching session. When I do presentations, they can be either teleseminars. Again, it doesn't matter where people are. I'm in my home office. They are wherever they are in their office or in their residence listening to the teleseminar. But when I do the live presentations, which are for me some of the most satisfying, I travel where the folks are. So whether it be in Ohio or New York or Florida or wherever it may be, doesn't matter, because I travel there and we gather a group of people, depending on how successful the Bar Association has been in their marketing efforts, anywhere from 20 to 50 to 100 or more. We have this interaction in a live presentation. When I go around the country in order to do presentations, I, generally speaking, am sponsored either by companies who want some involvement with the legal profession, the legal community, or bar associations, or on occasion by law firms themselves at their conferences and their retreats. And what I talk about are the practical elements, the business elements of the practice. What it is that they can do to be more effective with their clientele, what it is that they can do to be more efficient in the delivery of those services in a way that clients really appreciate. And so these are the kinds of things that I talk about. When I interact with the audiences, the best time for me is when, after a few slides in my PowerPoint presentation, there's enough interaction from the audience that I actually disregard the PowerPoint. We kind of shut it off and we deal with the challenges that the people are facing at the time. And so then it becomes a large audience interaction coaching session. And that for me is the most glorious fun of all. I love interacting with the audience. If you're a firm and you have a retreat, or if you're planning a conference, or you want to make sure that your lawyers are familiar with the business of law so that they can, A, gather more business, do that work more effectively, and then make sure that the firm benefits economically from their efforts, you need to hire me. If you're interested in success, I'm the guy that's going to help you get there. How we do that, that's up to you. We can do that when you bring me in to manage the retreat, to set up the retreat from the very beginning. If you go to my website, you'll see the various factors and steps that I think are important in developing a successful conference. At any point, at any stage in that scenario, if you bring me in, I can help you. If you want me to be only the keynote presenter, that's okay too. I will enliven your group, I will inform your group, and I will enable your group to make more money for the firm by the time I leave.
Everybody is entitled to counsel. Give that counsel fair meaning and enjoy it. Thank you very much for the privilege of being here.
If you want to contact Ed Pohl, he can be reached at Lawbiz Management, 421 Howland Canal, Venice, California, 90291. The founder of Law Biz Management is ready to bring his dynamic programs to you and your firm in the form of seminars, retreats, workshops, coaching for lawyers, and consulting. This has been a presentation of Law Biz Management, specializing in the business of law.